I have a stack right here as well, so we'll do that. All right, Carlos. Well, I thank you for joining me this evening. You and I are both big wrestling fans, of course. We've kind of talked a little bit offline quite a bit about it whenever something pops up or something cool we've seen or heard about. And so Collision just happened 2 days ago, I guess, 3 days ago now,
Yep.
2 days ago on Saturday. And the first thing I wanted to ask you was I was surprised by the theme song, the Elton John theme song. I loved it. I thought it was great. It had a very nostalgic, like Saturday night main event vibe for me. That's the first thing that hit me. What was your first initial thoughts when you heard the song and saw the opening card kind of come across the screen? What was kind of your first thoughts there?
So I'll give you a quick story. So right now, and we'll get more into that once we get to talking Collision some more.
Sure.
But the Tony Khan has not made any specific arrangements in Canada for it. So in reality, we don't have it on TV. It's the Rampage problem all over again. Now we do have it on the streaming, but the thing is, it's on the streaming on what's called TSN Plus. So
Okay.
I've got the cable package and like 300 channels, including 5 different TSN channels. And I was like, so you're putting it in one of these other ones, right? And they're like, no, except for the Toronto one. Oh, you mean the one that I'm going to be at? So I won't be watching it on the TV. Because, I'm like, you're idiots.
What?
They right now TSN Plus is on free preview, so they're not charging me for it yet. So
Oh,
fine.
nice.
So I watched it. I didn't catch the opening credits. I didn't see it for whatever reason. It didn't show it on the streaming part. I did watch it after the fact, though.
Okay.
So two things that struck me. Number one, I love the way they cut the pieces and included well, I won't say newer, but the characters they're bringing back.
Yep.
Andrade was featured, Thunder Rosa was featured, Miro was featured. All good. This is
Mm-hmm.
good. Two things that struck me. Number one, I like that it was very distinct in the way they did it versus Rampage and Dynamite. The way they shot it, the stuff in the background, the whole presentation felt different. The logo is different. The stage, the way they do it is different. The Elton John song also is different. Like it differentiates it immediately from Dynamite and Rampage. We're not going to accidentally think it's the same company, but we're not going to accidentally think it's the same thing. It feels and sounds different. And I also like the fact that, yeah, I wouldn't have thought Elton John first, but the fact that the song has Saturday Night in it, I'm like, no, lyrically, like this works, and it sounds different than the other one, so you won't immediately mistake it for the other one,
Yes.
which is good.
It is good. Yes. Okay. So I'm glad. I definitely liked it. I thought it was a nostalgic vibe right out of the gate. I like the way. Hey, what's up, Rick? I just want to say thank you for popping in, bud.
Yep.
But it definitely had that vibe. Like you said, I felt like it was totally different product, which is what you were alluding to. It's like if you're watching Rampage, you're watching Dynamite, you would not feel like it's the same program almost. It's like, or a different company. And that's great. That's what you want because you may end up having like, again, you have people who are like hardcore Raw fans, you have people who are hardcore SmackDown fans, and there's some crossover, and people, of course, watch a lot of both. But you have some camps that are very strong, and not that AEW will be doing that necessarily. But I really enjoyed what I know. We just saw we're only one episode in, so a lot can go well with it, or the wheels can fall off also. But I really liked the way it differentiated itself from the other programs.
Mhm.
So if they move in this direction, like you said, the logo, the music, this like the way they cut it with the wrestlers and all that, I feel like it's something that for me will be must see TV on Saturday nights, which is a great thing. That's what they want. They want people to come in and plop down and watch the show for a couple hours. So I agree with that. So that's cool. So next up, we have the pipe bomb times 4 or 5 from CM Punk. So he comes in. The whole reason why it was as big a deal as it was, especially, was because CM Punk's back. Pepsi Phil, Chick Magnet, Phil Brooks, whatever you want to call him. Even CM Junk, as I'm sure you saw, that's one of the people had a sign said CM Junk. he referenced. So I'm not going to say anything first. I'm sure you have lots to say here. You have a lot of thoughts. So I'll just give you the floor. CM Punk comes out. He comes out with a backpack or a bag. That's Orange Cassidy. A bag with what looks like a title in it, a belt, and a pair of shoes around his neck. So he has some visuals with him. With that being said, what was your thoughts about that whole 10-minute promo?
Yeah. So the first thing is what you just said. 9-10 minutes, which was the perfect. Andy's was also going to wrestle in the main event, so you
Yes.
bookended with Punk. You started with Punk, you ended with Punk, which is
Hmm.
smart. This whole thing is being sold around Punk.
Yes.
Now this is an extension because we talked about the ESPN interview that he did.
Yes.
He is 100% in work shoot mode. He is one
Yeah.
like everything, the little, I'll talk about the promo here in a second, but like all the little, little nuggets being dropped all the way along the way, the little hints, the little pieces are basically designed to generate buzz. So he's got a
Yep.
pair of wrestling boots, which played well into his promo, part of it.
Hmm.
Calling people, the only thing that makes that you're softer than the wrestlers you like. That was a good
Right.
line. I like that line.
That was a
Uh,
good one.
Counterfeit Bucks was a good line. So there were a couple of really good lines in there. I suspect that if they've got that much of that content in there, that um, they got some agreement that they may do something down the road and laying the groundwork for it. So that's smart. I think that's a good idea on their part. Um, the question is, and this would be like the overall thing, is consistency. My buddy asked me what I thought of the show. He hadn't had the chance to watch it, and I said, "Well, I'm not going to spoil it for you," but I said it's about the strongest show they could have come out with for a debut show. They did
Yes.
all the things that we would have asked them to do. My question is going to be consistency. I don't expect you to do that show every week, but if
Right.
you can give me 65 to 70% of that show every week, I'd be very happy.
Yep.
And I think that's doable, but the question is, can you maintain 65, 70%? That's enough if you can do it consistently. If I'm seeing Miro regularly, if I'm seeing, Punk regularly, if I'm seeing these other characters that are not on Dynamite or Rampage regularly,
Hmm.
that can work.
I agree with everything you said. So I feel like, again, I want there to be a crossover as well. I don't want it to be too strongly separated shows, at least me, my opinion.
There's going
I
to be.
do like the idea there's going to be some crossover. At least it sounds like there is, like with the Acclaimed. They make a mention of it. We'll get to that, I'm sure, here shortly. But they're talking about that. We already apparently CM Punk, Phil Brooks is going to be at Dynamite this Wednesday. Like there's already a chatter, about that or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't seem like it's going to be this hard brand split, which is what I don't want to see, because I do think, like you said, if we can have 60 or 70% of what we had from Saturday every episode, that's what I want. Like I said, and then if you sprinkle in Rampage storylines and you Dynamite storylines into that as well, so it's must see TV for everybody who wants to follow the product and the progression of the storylines and all that. Then that's what I again want to see. I don't want to be so strong and so hard of a split or two different like separate shows that you just only can enjoy one or the other. I want to be able to enjoy them both, but for different reasons. And so they need to find that happy balance. So that kind of goes to your point is, are they able to keep it up? Are they able to keep the storylines going? Are they able to keep up this 70-ish% of getting people to feel confident they're going to show a product that's going to be about the same every week with some variations and get people, to keep showing up and watching or showing up at the venues. All the things you said about what CM Punk said, I thought was on point. I have like a love-hate. I think a lot of us do, probably with him anyways. At least I do. Like I really want to like the guy. I like the wrestler. I don't like Phil Brooks. I like CM Punk. I guess that's that for me personally. And so it's hard to sometimes differentiate between the two, right? For me, it's because he does such a good job of bleeding into both characters, so you don't really know sometimes who you have in front of you. And the whole work shoot thing is a perfect example. Is like he 100% believes what he's saying, but how much of a bread trail, which is smart on him, is he leaving to the audience as he builds towards something? He makes some references to of MJF basically talking about no one ever beat him, no one ever submitted him, he never was pinned in the ring. No one's going to be able to take these boots or out, no one's going to take this belt, or no one's going to be able to fill these shoes. I'm the only one that can fill these shoes. There's no one here left that can do it, or no one stepped up yet. I'm happy to leave when they can. And all these allusions to, MJF not beating him and all this jazz. So I like that they're doing some, like I said, breadcrumbs, like leading some possible pathways for possible setups. So he did do his job there. So I do agree with you. But overall, I feel like, and I was going to ask you this as well, I felt like that was the place to do it. Of course, Chicago, right? That
Yeah.
if he did that in Albuquerque, or he did that in Des Moines, or he did that in Boston, that is not going to be the same response.
Mhm.
So I don't think so, because when they mentioned him just last week on Dynamite, you heard a lot of boos in Colorado, wherever they were, right? So it was not like this super positive response. So you would feel more than likely if he was in any other place than Chicago, the reception might not have been what it is in Chicago, of course. So what was your thoughts kind of on that?
All right, sounds good. Just letting you know you're a little bit choppy, so just just
Okay,
getting in and out.
thank you.
You're right. The thing is, I think it was smart for them to do in Chicago. That's going to be his best spot. That's where he's going to get
Mm-hmm.
the best response. The thing is, he cut a heel promo, but he did it in Chicago, which is fine. That means that audience is going to go. As soon as he set foot in any other place other than Chicago, then that's what we'll get the mixed reaction. We'll get the test. If he comes out, if the reports are right, he comes out of Dynamo, he's going to get booed. If he comes out, he comes to Canada, he's going to get booed. He comes to, basically anywhere on this planet outside of his house in Chicago is he's going to get a mixed reaction. The best he can hope
Right.
for is a mixed. But here's the thing, though, he's already leaned into it. Like one
Yeah.
of the opening lines, he says, "I don't know if you heard, I'm done being nice."
Yes, that's
So
true.
like it's like he already laid it out for you,
Mhm.
presented it for you in that way. So in that context, he's already said it.
Mhm.
He all he did was short. He could have just come out with a shirt that says "I'm a heel, boo me." Like
Right.
he's made it abundantly clear how he's gonna present himself, relative to. But as I said, there's gonna be a mixed reaction because there's some folks that are not cool with the way that the Elite and Omega and those guys do their thing, buddy with Tony Khan. Tony Khan has this weird place to navigate. It appears that Punk is interested in doing a certain story, and as long as he's allowed to do the story he wants to do and present it in a certain way, I think he'll be happy enough because there's enough room for him to do it.
Yeah,
And
sure.
I think as long as they give him enough interesting things to do, I think he'll be fine.
Mhm.
That's really what it comes down to. And you do have that MJF angle that he at least alluded to, which could work. You could have another set of promos between the two guys, which would do good box office. You could play
Yes.
off stuff. So look, the point is, there's enough good matches there, and enough good promo segments that you could do. I guess to put it this way, Collision is another AEW opportunity to hit the reset button and be able to refresh the product without
Yeah.
necessarily having to change Dynamite. Just by having it there, it gives Miro a place to be. It gives Thunder Rosa a place to be. And if CM Punk wants to go back, I think several of them will go back and forth. But I think
Mhm.
most of the time, I want to see Miro and Thunder Rosa and some of them featured on this other show. And that's why when I gave my buddy that rundown, I said to him, "It's like, here's what it comes down to. You had Punk bookending it. You had Andrade and Buddy Matthews, which we'll talk about, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
like that was structure wise. What happened? You had a thing that started the show, a thing that ended the show that made sense, and you had, for the wrestling guys, you had a banger top level match with two guys who know exactly what they're doing right in the middle. And all of a sudden Andrade has potentially a feud now with the House of Black. So you out of nowhere, Andrade's back. Great. Congratulations. You got a great match and now potentially a feud.
Yep. I agree. So with that being said, let's go ahead and talk about Luchasaurus and Wardlow, which is, I think, was the first actual match of the night. You may have to help me with some of this stuff because I'm an old man now and I can't remember. So what, again, I kind of like this to set up, throw the ball to you. By the way, Ziggy, thank you for popping in. Ziggy, thank you very much. Appreciate it. So I just like to throw the ball to you and let you just take a swing. So Luchasaurus and Wardlow, Christian, shenanigans. What's your thoughts?
I'm okay with the result, but you got two options with Wardlow. You either has to be leading to him getting frustrated and doing something else, or he's going to be a 457-time TNT champion. Like it's like, here's the thing, I'm 100% on board with Luchasaurus TNT champion, with Christian being an asshole who's parading around with the time. Look, heel Christian is, D-bag Christian is great. D-bag
Yes.
Christian is best Christian. He's an
That
asshole.
is
I love it.
And the thing is, I never was a Christian fan. I didn't really know much about him with the WWE product.
Sure.
I was more like followed Edge, I guess, like because he seemed like the more dynamic of the two and all that. And during a lot of the times when he was they were doing their feuds with the Hardys and the Bully Ray and Devon, the Dudley Boys.
Yep.
all that. Like, I just wasn't really watching the product religiously. So I honestly didn't know much about Christian. I knew he was kind of a big deal when he came over. That was about it. But I wasn't that impressed when he first hit. You know, I was just kind of like, meh, like the whole kind of like mentor that he was with the Luchasaurus and mostly with, you know, Jungle Boy Jack Perry, right? Mm-hmm. So I was just kind of like, okay. And he had a nice little run with the Impact title, mm-hmm. and he had all that stuff going on for him, which was all fine. He had a good match with Danielson, mm-hmm. Bryan Danielson. I mean, so it was all fine. But I really was, hey, what's up, Stu? So I was like, okay, he's doing fine. You know, he's kind of like a Sting mm-hmm. in my mind. He kind of was like there to help enhance the younger talent, right? And then he turned heel, and I have been a huge fan ever since. Like, the stuff that he was saying, like you were saying, all the D-bag dick stuff he was saying about Luke Perry, you know, Jungle Boy's real father, mm-hmm. and then saying the same thing about Wardlow's father, saying he ain't worth even talking about because he's a nobody, and just like he's like talking about going home with Jungle Boy Jack Perry's mom if she was lonely and needed somebody. All the things he was saying, I'm like, holy smokes, this guy. Yeah. So I agree with you. I am ready to see what Christian / Luchasaurus does with his title.
Yeah, but so the theme of the night is follow up. I'm actually 100% because here's what you did right out of the bat. You started off with the CM Punk promo, great. You laid mm-hmm. the groundwork, awesome. Then your first match is not necessarily a technical classic, but it's two hosses. You know, that's entertaining for what it is. Yeah. And then you got a title change emphasizing, hey, this show, stuff can happen on the show. That's the important thing.
That's true.
That was the problem that Rampage had, is that after a while it became nothing actually happens, stuff consequence right. on this show. Well, immediately you got a title change being like, by the way, stuff can't happen on the show. You should tune in. That's the message that you're being sending. But Wardlow cannot afford to be gaining and losing titles over and over again anymore. If he's going to win another title, he needs to actually have a real reign. And it can be whatever you want it to be, but it's got to be maybe he needs to go after the international championship, and that can be a thing. Maybe Wardlow needs to go heel for a bit. Like, he's just got to be something. Something's got to change with the presentation. But right now with Luchasaurus, and Luchasaurus is perfectly worthy. He's perfectly fine to be. I would like to see him have a little run with this. Mm-hmm. But right now we're getting, like I said, kind of what you're alluding to. I knew about how good Christian could be. When he showed up, I was like, you're handcuffing this guy. You are handcuffing him so hard because he can still do. He's still physically able to do some stuff in the ring, but he can talk. And the thing is, so I joke with my buddy, we joke back and forth. It's like, look, smarmy Christian is best Christian. The best version of Christian is when he's at his smarmiest, when he's absolutely an absolute piece of trash. He can do it. Go give the man a chance. Just let him do the thing. He can do it. Leave him alone. Let him do it.
I agree. I want to say I would like to, and I don't know how this would happen, and, you know, I want it to happen organically in some capacity. But I think you put Christian in a situation where him and MJF have a promo against each other for whatever the reason. I think that is a very hot promo, like, that is going to get people talking. I feel like there's a very high possibility of things being said during that promo that will get people talking. Like, whatever direction, I don't know. That's neither here nor there, quite frankly.
MJF would just reference Edge a lot. That's what would happen.
Exactly. Yes, and that's all it takes.
Christian with Christian's smarminess, though, when Christian is at maximum smarminess, the key for him would be to sit there and like stare at him, and then be like, "Who the hell are you?"
Yeah,
like that would be like the smarmy Christian thing to do. That he doesn't actually watch the show and he has no idea who MJF is. Like, who let this guy in? Does he need autographs? Like, is he lost? Like, what's going on? Like, exactly. And literally, like, MJF does this whole thing, and like literally Christian like no sells it because it's like, I don't know who you are.
Yeah, well, you know what's happening right now. Do you want an autograph, kid? Yeah. Right. So it's that's exactly like something like that. I feel like, you know, you have a guy who I didn't know he was that good of a talker having an opportunity at that level that would be kind of like what Ricky Starks did with MJF. That you have a couple people that are good talkers, give them opportunity on the mic against MJF, and maybe magic can happen. Sure. And, you know, the story can play out however it needs to play out. But, you know, I feel like there's not very many people who can do that. So Christian's one that I feel like could honestly do that, and it would not come across as forced or awkward. It would be like, okay, this is good. I want to see where this is going. So for sure.
Or if he's still with Luchasaurus, he could let him talk and then insult him and then just have Luchasaurus beat him up.
Yes, exactly.
Again, like the point is, he doesn't even sully his hands actually touching. Yeah,
right. He's like,
could you just choke slam this idiot? Could you just please? Could you please?
Exactly. But I also like the fact that they gimmicked a old school like Nikon camera from like 1995 to use to hit Wardlow with to win the match. Again, I thought that was hilarious because they went back in the 90s to pull up a camera. They didn't use anything else but like a legit photography camera. So I like that. That was definitely something a little different.
Even though it would have been nice if they had been doing that the whole show, so it wasn't so obvious. Like you never brought the camera guy back. You should have had him like a backup camera or something to at least sell the idea this dude was there for a reason.
Right,
You just brought him out for the one thing.
Thanks for the camera, dude. Boom, right here.
Yeah, you're gone. So, take the rest of the day off.
Right. So we talked about that. We talked about how essentially Christian was running around with the belt like he wanted. He actually said, "I'm the champion. I'm the new TNT champion." He was. But he made Luchasaurus pick him up on his shoulders and have him carry him around with the belt. So you know it's going to turn out bad for Christian eventually. They're going to have a falling out. Like something's going to happen there. It'll be, but like you said, let's see where it goes with Luchasaurus. Give him a couple weeks, a month or two, whatever, with the belt. Let him have a couple defenses of the belt and win, and then they can do that story, and then we can see where it goes from there. But I really like that he was full on dickhead right out from the gate, and then even when the win happened, he took full credit for it.
So. Yeah, that part I'm good with. I just wish he hadn't run straight to I'm ignoring Luchasaurus while running around with the title. You want to. This is sometimes where I think Tony Khan is too impatient. Like there are times where something takes too long. And it's like, look, and what did I just say a second ago? Smarmy Christian is best Christian. But you can dole out the smarminess in doses. Look, make it obvious that that's what he thinks. But have him present the title to Luchasaurus. Don't start off to like step 7. Hold on.
Right, that's true. That is true. Yeah.
Have him lead into it. Let's let Luchasaurus have a little run where Smarmy Christian is there helping him do the thing, and eventually it becomes a matter of him taking all the credit and kind of standing in front of Luchasaurus. I was like, slow down. So you literally just started. Hold on. Slow down.
Right. I was thinking the same thing when you were saying that. I was thinking that when I was watching on Saturday, I'm like, whoa, now hold your horses. Let's pull back a little bit on the reins, and not Roman Reigns, but the reins, and let Luchasaurus have his moment in the sun for a bit, like you said, and then we can have that story told. He can do something. He can drop, again, some of the breadcrumbs, some of the seeds in there, but let Luchasaurus hold the belt, let him walk around with it, let him kind of get a little bit of moment instead of, like you said, just jumping like 7 steps ahead, like you said, and he's running around with it. So, again, we'll see what next week looks like, and we'll go from there. But that was like you said at the beginning, it was letting people know, hey, if you tune into this, things are going to happen. Belts will get, people will win belts. Belts will be lost. There are going to be title exchanges. This is not going to be Rampage, so that's good. After that, I want to say, was that the Buddy Matthews, Buddy Murphy, and Andrade, or what was?
I'll pull up the results. Hold on.
Yeah, can you? Because I want to kind of do it in order if I can. It seemed like a lot going. Or if there was a promo, I think there was some promos I watched, but I don't remember their placement. But
so I've got it in front of me here. I'll help you out.
All right, thank you.
All right, so next, Lexi Nair was backstage with Powerhouse Hobbs and QT Marshall. Okay. So you had that, which is fine. It was fine for what it was. I'm glad Powerhouse was on the show. I'm glad he got a couple of moments to talk, so that's perfectly fine. Again, good. I want to see more Powerhouse.
I do too.
If he's going to be one of the featured guys, great. Have him featured on the show. That's a good thing. He did say he was in the Owen Hart Cup, which I think is going to be good. So I'm happy with that. Next one was Andrade El Idolo. Now, real quick, before I continue, I joke with my buddy. My favorite feud of the entire show was, and we didn't even mention them. One of the other things that makes the show distinct is that the announcers are not Excalibur. They're not the other guys. And I like Excalibur, but I'm like, no, there should be a different set for the show. But we got Nigel McGuinness and Kevin Kelly. Blast from the past, Kevin Kelly. But here's the point I want to make. This is why I'm bringing it up now. The best feud on this show was Kevin Kelly versus Andrade El Idolo. Saying it. He came up with 47 ways to say it wrong. Every single the enthusiasm was there, but it was all wrong. He could not have come up with more ways to. He struggled with Andrade. He struggled with. He was having a stroke. And McGuinness was probably dying of laughter. He's trying not to cackle over the side. He goes, "You just say it correctly one time." one time.
Yes, this is very true. You're right. Like when he first mentions it, I'm like, hold on, wait, who's wrestling again? Because you said like he slaughtered it right out of the gate. Luckily, Dasha got up there and then like clearly said the name so you can hear
But
it.
he obviously didn't hear her because he still said it wrong like 10 more times.
Right. Well, it's like the whole Saraya thing. People keep messing that up all the time. There are just some people's names. Unfortunately, it's hard for native English speakers or Americans or whatever you want to call it to like wrap their minds around certain people's pronunciation of their names. So I get it, but you would think since he knows it's coming that he would practice that all day so he's ready for it because it's going to be something that he's going to trip up on, like you said.
Well, I would also think if you're going to get it wrong, at least get it wrong consistently. He came up with 10 different pronunciations. It was like you weren't even consistent from you got it wrong, you got it wrong, you got it no, you went in like this direction, then you went in that direction, then you went north, you went south, and I was like,
he should have said Charlotte Flair's husband. Maybe that would have been easier.
That's alluded to at the end of the match. That's later.
Right. Yeah, that's true. So I will tell you from the get-go, I was probably most excited about this match because I felt like those two guys are going to have a banger.
Yeah.
I will say, I don't want to say it's on the level because that's probably giving it too much credit, but I think that one stole the show. Like the Macho Man Steamboat stole WrestleMania 3. Everybody was excited about the CM Punk match. Everybody was going to be excited about that, right? Everybody thought it was going to be great, which it turned out to be a fine. We'll get to there too. It ended up being a great match. But those two guys went in there and had a hell of a match. I mean, we're talking about, the selling they both did, the stories they were telling with the injuries, the shenanigans that were kind of going on around and all that, but didn't really affect the actual match itself. It was kind of like looming in the background, like you just said a moment ago with the whole using their wives or girlfriends, finishing moves on each other, trying to get either as winks and nods, like a little inside baseball stuff. Just a lot of great like things for fans, like really great things for fans. So with that being said, I'll just kind of leave it there. What were your thoughts or your takeaways?
So I think this is why I said earlier, if you want to distinguish this, if you want to make it, you want to give the greatest hits of AEW, give them the stuff they like, but also change it up a little bit. I like the first match included, Smarmy Christian, a lot of the fun with that. You got a title change, which is great. This was a non-title match between two guys who prior to this had no specific association, but you gave them time. And you were trying to reintroduce Andrade. So if you want to reintroduce Andrade, well, then let him wrestle a decent amount of time against somebody who can hang and go with him. And as on that level. And if you notice, the House of Black, until the end of the match, the House of Black was not involved except for Julia, who came out. And she's still doing her gimmick, and her gimmick is tremendous. And every week it gets better. And she's executing it beautifully, being kind of the stoic background to it. So she's doing her job great. Buddy Matthews is doing his job at an elite level because he'd come in as a trios guy, but he is an elite level wrestler one-on-one against another elite level wrestler one-on-one. And all of a sudden you got to showcase the two guys, and the crowd was hot for it. So it was almost the perfect storm of being like, hey, we're going to give you guys like 10, 15 minutes, and you get to be featured and just do whatever you're going to do. And the two guys are like, all right, no problem. Exclamation point on the end of it. Everybody was happy. Good match, top to bottom. And then you really didn't have any real thing until the end, which alluded to potentially a story. This piece, if the formula is give me one solid, strong match in the middle of the card, that's a winner.
Yes.
Have some storyline stuff in between, sandwich some other elements, give me a little bit backstage, give me a little bit, and then give me one solid match that, all right, guys, we're going to have this match. It's going to be really good. And we're going to pick some of these folks who are on your roster. Pac would be a guy that you could bring in for this kind of thing from time to time. Just be like, hey, we're gonna have a Pac match this week, Buddy Matthews next week, Andrade the week after. You could have each one of these guys have a feature match like this where they're getting 10 or 15 minutes against somebody good to do something interesting.
Yes. I completely agree. That's exactly what I took away from it as well. So are you there? Okay, there you are. It froze for me too, so but yeah, I agree with you 100%. I knew it was gonna be a good match. I didn't think it was gonna be that good of a match, and so I was super thrilled. I will tell you, my son, who no longer really watches wrestling, shockingly sat down and watched the first hour and 15 of the show, right? Of Collision. I want to keep saying Collusion. but Collision. And he was completely drawn into that wrestling match. He was like, wow, Dad. So if you get a 14-year-old boy who's getting ready to turn 15 who would probably never admit to his friends that he watches wrestling in any capacity, just sit down, not have an iPhone, not have an iPad, not have anything else in front of him, but just sit there and watch the actual wrestling match, two guys going at it, and then walk away from saying it like that was a really good match. I'm like, hey, like you said, they did their job. They did their job. They came out there, they put on a banger. People were, myself, you were saying how great it was. We really liked it, and let's see more of that. Right, and I think that's exactly what it was. And then like you said also, and I agree, they had just enough storyline at the end to want to whet the appetite for it to come back next week and see where things go with the House of Black and all that. So yes.
One thing though is to be looking for my favorite. If they are going to have you to do that, then real important is that the result needs to be on pay-per-view. If you're going to set them up, have some matches maybe into it, resolution needs to be that was the Rampage problem. Rampage came into the thing which they started having really good matches. Rampage had good matches on it, but it doesn't lead to anything. It doesn't go anywhere.
Right,
it's just a self-contained side of that one mode, and that's the end. You can't. And if these two are pay-per-view, look, Iron Night has a faction too. So if you're saying to me this is a good way to lead into eventually House of Black versus,
Uh-oh. All right, man. We'll wait till I think we all know Carlos's call dropped or his connection dropped. So we'll see if he pops back on here in a second. But hey, Collector's Dream, thanks for popping in, guys. I appreciate it. As you all know, I understand like wrestling for a lot of people is not their cup of tea or their cup of joe. But I appreciate you, the five guys that are here hanging out. I really appreciate it. Yeah, he was breaking up, and breaking up is hard to do. We all know. But I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, like I said, but I appreciate everybody hanging in and communicating. If you have any questions about Collision or about AEW, about wrestling, feel free to kind of ask. I mean, myself and Carlos were just kind of free-flowing Collision and like our thoughts and our observations and all that. So, feel free to ask questions or participate in the conversation. I just want to talk to somebody who's also a wrestling fan and get their, pick their brain and see what they think, because, it's not, it's already a tough crowd when you're a baseball card collector, a sports card collector, right? To talk about sports cards, it's hard to find friends or anybody maybe even near you or close to you who will collect or talk about sports cards. It's even harder to find someone who wants to talk wrestling. So it's cool to talk to guys or gals even who enjoy watching wrestling and talking about it a little bit deeper. We'll scratch the surface a bit and talk about the wrestling and, get kind of in the psyche of it and just enjoy it for, it being a male soap opera. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. It's a male soap opera, and it is what it is. So Orlando's Hill Collector's Dream. Collision needs more. Oh no, it does not. Scotty Too Hottie. It does not need. It does not need any Sammy Guevara. He showed up after we didn't have him on TV for a couple of weeks, thank God. And then he came back, and then he still was getting booed. The only person who didn't get booed was his baby. His baby didn't get booed, but every time else, even Darby was trying to put him over and couldn't put him over. So I think we're gonna get Carlos back. Hey, Carlos, you're back. Can you hear me? Uh-oh. Oh, I know you had to plug him, Scott. You and your Sammy Guevara fascination. Can you hear me, Carlos? I can see you, but I cannot hear you.
Well, and you still. Can you hear me okay now?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you okay now. It still seems a little bit choppy, but.
Yeah. Yeah, I had it flicker on me, and it just went off. I guess the modem reset or something.
Yeah. Maybe Justin Trudeau is not a fan of wrestling.
Even if he wasn't, he's not actually capable of disconnecting. He'd probably disconnect the United States instead.
I love it. I love it.
Well, the thing is, real quick, I don't delve into politics. It's not my thing. But
Oh,
I always laugh. I don't give a shit about Trudeau one way or the other. He's harmless. He's not smart enough to actually do anything wrong. A lot of people say this with him. It's like, he's not that smart. He's literally harmless. I don't care what he does. It doesn't make any difference.
sure. So we have Scott on here talking smack to me about Sammy Guevara, saying that they need more Sammy on Collision. I said absolutely not. I do not need Sammy in his real life baby mama drama on Collision. Keep that on Dynamite, or actually just keep that on AEW Dark and Elevation. Oh, whoops, it's not there anymore. So that's where we need all that nonsense.
Well,
So
the problem is they're trying to use the baby to make him a good guy, and it's like, guys, people kind of want to punch Sammy Guevara in the face.
mhm,
You know who I would like. We talked about it earlier. You know who, honestly, I would pair up with Sammy Guevara, not necessarily on screen, but like to have him chat with. Look, just have him go talk under the learning tree of Christian. He needs to learn how to embrace his inner smarminess.
yes,
Sammy Guevara could learn. So go under the learning tree with Christian. Christian will teach
that's
you the
true.
way.
That is true. I agree with that because he tries to do it. He thinks he's doing a good job of coming off as like a heel and, like you said, kind of smarmy, or kind of like just like kind of like just doesn't give a shit or whatever. But it doesn't work. Like, no one likes him. Like, he just doesn't. He's not saying the right things. He's not doing the right things. It's the turn off the TV kind of heat we've talked about in the past, or at least I've talked about. And so, I mean, I'm not questioning his ability in the ring. He does a great job. He does a lot of crazy, moves. But for me, I need more to my wrestlers than a guy who's willing to do like Spanish flies off the top rope or whatever.
But
So,
I think the wrestling is the part that he's good at.
right.
So that part's not the issue. But that's where I said it personally, Jess, but I'm actually serious. I think he would. If I was in AEW, I would literally be like, go talk to this man.
You're right.
Because he will show you how to harness what you're already doing. You know what? If they don't like you, great, play into it. And here's how.
Yes.
Here's how to like play into it. And then guess what? If you do such a good job at that, eventually they will cheer you.
Yes.
Because that's the way this works.
And I agree. And Scott said, he isn't naturally a natural heel, which I agree.
He's also not a natural face.
Right. He isn't.
He's in this weird spot. Like, we love his fancy moves, but then you talk and ruin it.
Yes. I've never been a big fan of Sammy Guevara, even before all the shenanigans that he brought his real life into the wrestling world and all that, bringing into the squared circle and all that jazz. Before that, I would watch his YouTube video every once in a while to catch it to see who he is as a real person. And he just came across as very fake and not genuine as a person. So I'm just like, where Ethan Page is like the nicest, most like just greatest guy, it feels like, in the world in real life. And Sammy does not come across that way at all. And maybe I'm wrong, and that's fine. I can be wrong, but yeah, I don't get good vibes from Sammy. I feel like he is all about trying to become famous and getting the money and accolades he can get. It just feels like, for me, it's all about him. And that, I mean, and I understand all of us are about that to a certain degree, but he needs to find a good balance that he does not have. So It is what it is. So when Darby Allin comes down and tries to put you over and he can't put you over, the only thing that kind of like people didn't boo you was because of your baby, because who boos babies? Everything else during that promo was absolute shite. And then Darby was like, the people love you now. They're really behind you. And then you hear the whole crowd like, boo. It's like he was still getting booed even when Darby was trying to help put him over. So that's all you need to know.
That was his The Rock trying to put Roman Reigns over moment.
Exactly.
I go, please don't boo this man. That's please. True. It's like, I am trying really hard to get you not to boo this man. Could you guys not? Could you guys not?
Now the next feud he's gonna have is having to have eat dog food, have dog food thrown on him. Then he'll finally get loved again or what.
Well, you'll see. Like, if he follows that arc, wait until the Sammy 1,000-day title reign.
Exactly. He'll be the sex gods title reign or whatever. So all right, so we had the Buddy Matthews, Buddy Murphy match with Andrade El Idolo.
Real quick, and I don't want to gloss over it. There was a hype package for Scorpio Sky.
There was yes.
Which is good. Which is
good because I completely forgot about him. I thought
he was dead. The good news is he is still alive and he was in a hype video. Great. And if he can show up to television, you can get him there. That'd be even better. I'm
Right.
happy he's alive. I like Scorpio. I like Scorpio fine. I think he was done wrong the first time around.
Yeah.
The problem is he didn't have a character anyway. So,
Right.
so it's like I actually like when he's a little bit cocky. The problem is, and maybe this is a different issue. The problem is in wrestling. There's too many guys who are only good when they're heelish, and this is a major problem. It's like nobody's actually good at being likable. Like they force it until like it gets annoying, and
Yes.
then when you're a bad guy, you're just an asshole, and then people kind of like that.
Right. Yeah, I thought that when they did the team up with him and Ethan Page, I thought it had potential because they both are good looking guys. They're in good shape. They're both like high fashion dudes, and that's the image they were presenting. It came across as believable, and I liked it, and I thought they had some momentum going. Actually, I'm like, okay, all right. But then the whole thing with them kind of falling out, and then he became the TNT champ, and then he had it, and he lost it, and he got it again, and then he lost it again. It was like the whole Wardlow / Sammy Guevara / Scorpio Sky thing. So it just kind of got lost in the shuffle, and it goes back to what you were saying. I mean, he has potential, but honestly, I had completely forgot about him. Where I didn't forget about Thunder Rosa, I didn't forget about Andrade, I didn't forget about Miro, but Scorpio Sky. They didn't show him show up, he didn't show up last or Saturday night, I would have never even thought about him.
Yep. So now, speaking of which, so then the match you were going to say was that we had Tony Nese come out and try to get those Chicago sweat hogs to stand up and do some. By the way, I like that.
Yes,
I like Tony Nese has 47 abs. So you know what? You're one who's allowed to do this. This is a gimmick I actually want Tony Nese to do this in every city he goes to. You fat bastards! I'm going to teach you how not to be fat and garbage.
Exactly.
Now, it was a perfect setup to then Miro returns to a great ovation. People loved that.
Yeah.
And then Miro destroyed it.
Yes. I will say the two things that I want to say about this, and it's not any knock at Tony Nese at all. I completely agree with you. I thought Tony Nese, he played that part great. He definitely is a believable wrestling match, so to speak, for the Miro. It wasn't going to be like your traditional squash match, which you appreciate a little bit. They gave him a little offense, but Miro still pretty much squashed them. But it wasn't a complete disobliteration. Like it wasn't like a what's that one luchador kid that keeps popping up as Sammy Guevara's best friend?
Serpentico?
Fuego
Serpentico. Serpentico.
Oh, or Serpentico too, but Fuego del Sol was the guy I was thinking of.
But anyway. Serpentico is a cult favorite. He gets destroyed all the time. We love him for getting destroyed. He's awesome. Yes.
But what I was going to say is, and this, Christian does it, like Tony Nese and like Mark Sterling does it, MJF does it. The two, and I don't know if you feel the same way I do, but the way the world is nowadays, you got to be so careful when you like try to get heat from the crowd, right? So every heel falls into the same two things: hillbillies and rednecks, and everyone's fat, because you can't get canceled for those things at this point. So that is like the only thing people can say to the crowd now, because they're scared to death in the real world that if they made any other allusions to any other demographic or person, they're going to have like legit trouble like heading into the next day. But you always can get cheap heat with calling everybody fat or calling everybody, even if they're like in LA, hillbillies and rednecks and all this stuff. And you're like, what? But it's the same thing that gets said. So I do agree with you. I like when like Tony Nese, who looks the part, can get up there and tell about the sweaty fat hogs. But it's like all the same guys say that every time, because it's like one of the few things you can get away with saying to get a reaction, because you say anything else, it's like lights out for your career possibly.
But here's the thing: even if I'll be honest with you, even if you took that away, there's a lot of the other things that you think about, you're going to get a medium reaction anyway. Half the crowd won't care about that. So the reason it's so lowest common denominator and so basic that it hits enough of the audience to get a reaction. You try everything else, it's like, well, you're not. Half the audience is going to be either not get what you're saying, or they're not going to react to it anyway. So imagine like half the audience booing and half of them just being like, what? That's actually not a useful reaction. That actually doesn't work either.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. And I know we're living a different time, and I know there's certain things you cannot get. You cannot say like the things that Rowdy Piper would say back in the day, or whomever. Just
Yeah.
fill in the blank. Like heels that would like literally like verbally attack the audience, right? The crowd.
I think though, even he'd have to adapt his game, because if you try the verbally, I said I'm taking it away for a second. Pretend you can't get canceled. Try it. You're gonna find that you're not gonna get the strong reaction you're hoping for.
Yeah, I guess there's a certain.
You'll get it on social media, but not in the arena. I'm talking about in the arena.
Okay, that's
I
true.
don't think you're going to get the whole point. So the problem with wrestlers is that they have to remember they're on TV. So yes, you do want to get the people on TV to respond.
Sure.
But it's actually more important in the moment to get the arena to respond. Because if everyone sits in silence, you could have the greatest match of all time. But if everybody's sitting on their hands on TV, you're like, my God, this is the greatest match of all time. And you're hearing the crowd and it's crickets. You're like,
right.
There's a disconnect in what I'm seeing and what's happening right now.
That is true, but it goes back to a little bit what we were saying a moment ago, that like the Christian like heel, like smarmy and kind of MJF, where they like make things more personal. Very few wrestlers will do that.
Yeah,
so
you're talking about the audience though. The problem is there's too many people in the audience. You can't specifically isolate when your opponent. You can pick apart something
sure.
for them. Are you going to do a survey of the whole audience? It's like, so what really pisses you off? You really hate your dad? Let's talk about your dad, Joe.
Yeah, exactly.
In the 14th row. It's like your dad left because you were a piece of shit. And everybody else is like, who the fuck is Joe?
Yeah, that's right.
Joe will be furious at you. Joe will run to the guardrail and try to attack you. Everybody else will just be confused.
Right. Like, who's Joe? Like you said. So there is some truth to that. That's true. So anyways, but to not get too much of off the kilter there.
Go ahead.
So yes, the whole calling everybody out, which is great. It gets that cheap heat, like you said, and then Miro gets presented, like you said, huge pop. Everybody's been waiting for it for like 18 months, something crazy like that. It's been waiting around forever.
It's been a while.
And he comes in there. He doesn't completely wreck Tony Nese, which is great. They give Nese a little bit of offense, which is good, I think, because again, just completely squash him would be unfortunate, because he is a kind of a major player on Ring of Honor and even some storylines with on Dynamite and Rampage. So you don't want to just completely like just smoke him. So I thought
Tony Nese
good.
is also an asset. Like I wasn't joking. I actually would love Tony Nese to do this again.
Yes, exactly.
And you know what? And sometimes, and this is the important thing. This is from this live stream to Tony Khan's ears. Sometimes Tony Nese should do this and win the match.
Yes.
Get him opponent. Like do a mix. Do the thing where sometimes he'll say it and get his comeuppance, but sometimes he'll do it and win the match, and afterwards he's like, "All right, you
exactly,
bastards." It's
exactly.
Like, I want him to have credibility. So from time to time, he should win the match after doing the thing, and then people are pissed off that he won the match. That's perfect, good. That's what I want.
Yeah, that's true. Like let him win, so people's like, he doesn't. They don't get the satisfaction of him getting beat because he said all the negative things. Like he wins,
and then you'll get the other person. And then you can have the other person who will face him at the pay-per-view and kill him.
Right, exactly.
And then everybody wins.
Everybody wins. So Scott said the TNT title is the AEW's 24/7 title. It's
right
not
now.
changing that much, but it's getting close. So.
Well, that's why I said I think they've heard the international championship right now is standing out more because they've done a good job protecting it.
Yes, that's true.
It is going to change hands. Like they're doing the thing where Orange Cassidy's getting more and more worn out, beat down.
Right.
Now he's having to take a couple of shortcuts. Like the story is that he's taking on too many challengers and slowly getting. Eventually, somebody's going to beat him.
And hopefully that somebody's Miro.
It could be. But the only concern I have with Miro, and again, theme of the night for this standalone segment, love what Tony Nese did. Love Nero's entrance. Love the reaction to it. Enjoyed the match for what it was. Miro did great. Everybody's great. What do you do next? Even if Miro was the international champion, okay, cool. But then, who else is gonna like Miro? Miro's had so many squash matches already, so it's like, it's not like he needs more. So it's like you got to be careful because if he's just international champion, then what do you want to do?
Right. I completely agree. So again, with Miro, just to follow up again, just to kind of finish up this thought, I do want to see him in a program with someone, 100%. What that is and who that is to be determined. But we already established, and we established way back when, before Sammy Guevara effed everything up, that Miro just crushes people. Like even the guys that you think he wouldn't. Like he whipped Darby Allin's ass. Lance Archer got whipped by him. I mean, he was like getting like legit good matches in and winning. And then the Sammy Guevara thing messed him up, and he never really recuperated from that. And then he got hurt and all that, and here we are today. So the short version is that we need to get him established. If he needs to have a couple more squash matches, kind of, just to reestablish that he's a monster, okay. But at some point, kind of like what you were saying, we need to have something that happens at the end of the match where he squashes somebody or he beats somebody, and then their angle starts. Like there is something that's going to happen where he is now going to get into a program with someone else, and that we can like build to something. And because he's really never had that. I mean, he had that at the beginning with the Kip Sabian stuff, which was ridiculous. Outside of that, he's never really had a true story where he was able to really work with somebody. They were alluding to it with the House of Black, which I liked. And then that never went anywhere. So they may be able to restart that up again, because there was some seeds planted there a year ago.
Right.
But yeah, we'll see, I guess, where we're going with that, hopefully in the future. So I think it's Orlando. He asked,
yep.
What are some of your favorite wrestling cards? I know that you're a big Britt Baker, Dr. Britt Baker DMD fan,
Yeah.
but what are some of your favorite wrestling cards? If you have some stuff you want to show off, we'll take a little hiatus and show some cards.
So I like collecting the Britt Baker cards, but they can't really be my favorite cards because a lot of the Upper Deck ones, they haven't done as good a job with them visually as I'd like them to be. I collect them because it's fun for me to do, but
right.
It's tough. It's tough when the cards themselves are just kind of lukewarm. They're not crazy. I have a little bit of fun with the different cards, but it's one of those things where I'm not a big fan of the older ones. I enjoy a lot of the fully loaded.
Nice.
Some of those different ones. So there's a Cesaro, thematically appropriate. But you've got a bunch of those. And here's one that's thematically appropriate to right now. And that's actually the next match, so look at that.
Yeah, it's Tony Storm.
Yep. The fully loaded cards, I think, are pretty good for what they are. It's one of those ones where I think it's fun. I didn't mind the Topps Chrome refractors. So there's the black refractor. It's the out of 10. And let me see, hold on. I'll do one thing here, since I have the box with me. But go over here, grab this one. There we go. That'll work better.
Was that Swerve? Yeah.
Yep, that's Swerve.
Yeah, I really like Swerve Strickland. He's like probably like my MVP this year so far.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure I had the light before I did it. And this one I actually picked up before he showed up on AEW. I actually jumped the gun. I thought it was actually him, but it wasn't. But it's worked out.
Oh, it's funny. Yeah, Roderick Strong.
Yeah, that's the black refractor out of 10. So I was like, all right, well, I accidentally hit that one correctly.
Yes.
That was not intentional.
I'll do a quick behind the scenes. Like I have a video coming up here shortly. I'm gonna show, but I picked up a Roderick Strong as well. And let me go back to.
Yep.
Let me show here. No exit solo. There we go. So I have this Roderick Strong here that I'm excited about. This is out of 299.
Mm-hmm.
So I picked that up when I was in South Carolina. I agree with you. I didn't know anything about this guy. Never heard of him. Didn't know nothing about him. He popped up out of the blue, and they were like putting him over with Adam Cole, and I'm like, "Who's this guy?"
Yeah. I knew him. I knew him from his run in WWE with Adam Cole and with Undisputed Era. I knew him from there, and I thought so. The problem was, it was Kyle O'Reilly who came over. I actually thought it was Roderick Strong, so I grabbed the card and I was like, oh, it was Kyle O'Reilly. I'm like, oh crap. Well, that's awkward. That was wrong. Right. Now it's worked out. It's worked out.
Sure.
But I jumped the gun way before that one.
Yeah, and I didn't know much about him, and like apparently you did know a little bit more about him than me, but yeah. I liked him. I've liked everything about him so far. I've really enjoyed him. Yeah. He's taken a little bit of a hiatus after kind of popping in strong. So I'm hoping they're gonna get him back on TV because I really enjoy what I saw with him. So we will see.
Yeah.
Uh,
And there's two
yeah.
things. There's two things as well. Kind of playing through, I guess, maybe Orlando's question as well. I favor the modern. I know about a lot of the vintage and the older cards. They just don't interest me. They never have.
Okay,
But for some people, they
fair.
do. And the other thing is Roderick Strong is Marina Shafir's husband.
Really?
So in my brain when I said that's the reason why in my head I was like, oh, it's Roderick Strong, and then I was like,
Huh.
oh no, it was Kyle O'Reilly, and I'm like, oh, wow, that was the wrong one because they were all part of the same faction. So I was like in my brain I grabbed the wrong member. Now in the end they're both there now, but when Marino Shafir was there, I thought, okay, oh, it must be Roderick Strong, and I guess his contract hadn't run out yet. And I was like, well, if his wife is there, eventually he's going to probably end up there. Like she's getting a
Right.
paycheck from there. It's like, hey, whatever, good for her. And then
Right.
obviously also
Sure.
playing into, we'll talk about the next match here, but there's a Orange Refractor Tony Storm.
Nice. I love it. I have this Ultimate Warrior. I'm a big fan. This is
That's the
from
classic
the
1990.
classic. I think this is technically his rookie card or like the 1989 version. I believe.
Yeah.
Again, I don't get too caught up in all that, but I'm a Hulk Hogan fan mostly, but no one can deny the awesomeness of the Warrior. Then I got this cool autograph of Jerry the King Lawler, which was given to me by a friend of the channel, and he also sent me this Brutus the Barber. Yeah, there you go, nice. The Brutus the Barber Beefcake also signed card, which I absolutely love. So yeah, and then we were talking about him just a minute ago. His old version, Rusev.
Mm-hmm.
I got that autograph. This is, I think, numbered out of 99. This is lucky number 13. But I've been wanting to get a Miro autograph. I just haven't been able to find one, but I was able to get that Rusev one.
And if you like the dirt cheap autographs,
Is that Edge? Nice. Yeah.
that's 2014 Leaf. So they did a bunch of these, really inexpensive.
Do you think he'll eventually show up in AEW? Or do you think it'll be the other way around? Do you think Christian will leave and go back to WWE and have the final run with him?
Well, the thing is, I don't think there's any final run coming because it's like even right now, I don't know if Edge would go to AEW. He might just for a run there just to do it, because he can go wherever he wants as long as his contract allows him to. But
Right,
like
sure.
like I said, right now we're getting a full dose of Smarmy Christian, which is still best Christian. I stand by it. And in WWE, he would just be like, look, the only thing they would use Christian for most likely would be to have him get killed by somebody so that Edge could avenge him. Like he's basically just cannon fodder. So I was like,
That's
but you
true.
realize that Christian can actually still wrestle a little bit, and he can be Smarmy Christian is best Christian. You're wasting best Christian.
This is true. I agree.
It's like it would be such a waste. I was like, no, I enjoy Smarmy Christian. Give me more Smarmy Christian.
Give me more Smarmy Christian, exactly. All right, so let's move back like we talked about a moment ago. So we alluded to with the Tony Storm, Ruby Soho versus Willow Nightingale and Sky Blue.
Local favorite, Sky Blue.
Local favorite. Here's everybody's favorite wrestling manager, Don Callis.
Oh, Don Callis. Classic.
I love Don Callis. I mean, the dude is a genius. Anyways, what was your thoughts about the match? What just your insights? What was your takeaways?
Mm-hmm. I thought the match was fine for what it was. It forwarded over the fact that Sky Blue's been kind of semi-feuding with the Outcast. Willow Nightingale's been semi-feuding with the Outcast. I think Saraya's got a thing going on right now. So right now, I'll be honest though, it's okay because Tony Storm and Ruby Soho can hold it down. They're fine.
Right.
Right now, they can do and it gives Tony Storm the opportunity to talk more, and it gives Ruby Soho the opportunity to talk more. So it gives them a little bit more mic time. I would like Saraya to come back because I think that'd be good. But in the meantime, those two are the ones who are wrestling the most out of the team anyway. So so they're fine. The only problem that I have with the whole thing is that AEW still has this habit where they'll do like the one token women's match just to get out of the way. But but in this case, it's good that at least if you're going to do the token women's match, it's the women's champion.
Yes,
this is good, and you're still showing her on TV, which is good.
Right.
And then Ruby Soho is as part of that is also coming along and getting airtime and getting to do stuff. And it's good that they don't win all the time, but the problem is they're kind of semi-feuding with the division, and at a certain point, it should like maybe it's because Saraya is right now injured or something's going on with it, but at the same time, it's like you realize eventually the entire roster would gang up on them. So it's like you've got to have the entire roster, unless, and this is wrestling logic 101, the entire roster is stupid. And this is always the problem. It's like they've been able to do this sneak attack thing for like 6 months. and
Right.
nobody watches the show and has been able to figure out how to defeat their cunning plan. I was like, guys, you realize that you make everyone stupid when you do this, and WWE has
Right.
the same problem. Like nobody's immune to it because sometimes even the bloodline thing they're doing right now, I'm like, I'm fine with it, I get it, but you're making Roman Reigns an idiot.
Right.
Because this was really easy. You've got a wise man. How wise is he? He couldn't figure this was coming.
True.
Why are you all dumbasses? So anyway, to answer your question, I think the match was perfectly fine. I thought
Yeah.
Sky Blue got a great reaction. Willow's done well. She's got her NPGW strong title, which is fine.
Right.
But I think eventually it will lead, more than likely, to an appearance by Mercedes Moné, who's supposed to have that title. So look, if it leads to eventually her coming in, as a result of that whole thing and participating in it. So I'm wondering if it's some combination of Soraya's, whatever's going on with her availability, and Mercedes Moné having an injury coming off of that, which resulted in that title going the way it was. They're just kind of waiting. The problem is Tony doesn't know how to fill the time. So it's like you got to come up with a clever way of getting them to do something in the meantime rather than just
Sure.
random matches. Because I think the idea is eventually to have Mercedes Moné be part of whatever this is going to end up being. But everybody's in a holding pattern waiting.
Yeah, because it makes the most sense. I mean, as of right now, is that Willow has something that Mercedes Moné wants.
Yeah.
It's something that she should have gotten. You can work that angle however you want.
Sure.
And that she obviously is not a AEW original.
Yep.
So her showing up with the Outsiders and then whipping everybody's ass and getting that belt back is a complete and 100% believable storyline. And then you get her on TV, like you said. You do the crossover with New Japan. You have the star power that is Sasha Banks, aka Mercedes Moné, and then she gets her belt back, which is what's going to end eventually happening for sure.
And don't forget Forbidden Doors on Sunday.
Right.
So don't.
And
don't,
so she
don't
may
be
show
shocked
up in some capacity there.
I'm not saying just because I'll be there, but it's like, all right, look, I've been fielding phone calls already. It's like something Monet. Like, look, they need arrangements and accommodations. Like, I'm taking care of it. Don't worry about it.
Right. Well, you need to make sure you shoot me a text because I don't think I'll be if I'm not able to watch it live. Then you need to tell me like here's all the fallout from Forbidden Door. I want to know all the insights and whatnot. But regardless of that, I do think, like you said, there is something brewing there.
Yeah.
I think her getting injured kind of messed up some of that a little bit. So as far as what can happen and how it's going to happen may have been like maneuvered around, but it 100% makes sense that there'll be some sort of angle that she'll work into with the Outsiders to join. I still think we've talked about this a little bit before, that they haven't used Athena the right way when it comes to her being an outsider. She can come in and also lay the smackdown on the originals as well, having some kind of crossover there. With the Ring of Honor stuff, not being an original AEW gal. So there's a lot of potential right there that we haven't really got to yet. So, but yeah, to get back to the match, I thought it was a fine match. It wasn't anything overtly magical, but it was definitely good. I thought it was pretty funny that Sky Blue's mom was slapping the shib out of Ruby Soho and Tony Storm, where they were like, they're mocking her, making fun of her, and she was slapping them, and I thought it was pretty funny. I always that's always a cheap laugh for me whenever a parent gets involved or a relative of some kind or a celebrity that's on the sidelines just like slaps or punches somebody. I'm always like, okay, I appreciate that. But yeah, overall, it just, kind of progressed the story a little bit more like we talked about, but it wasn't anything overtly memorable. It was just like, all right, yeah, we got the match. Good deal.
And Sky Blue got the pin. Like,
Sky Blue got
hometown
the
and
pin.
everything. It was good for the home crowd. You played that match was played to the crowd.
Oh,
you got the women's champion in there, good, but you got to play into the home crowd, and you gave her a good, you gave her a win in Chicago. Great,
right? And and they gave him time for the match too. It wasn't a quick one. It wasn't like a 2-minute match. It was a 8-minute match probably roughly or something. It was a good chunk of time.
Yeah.
So what was after that? I think it was a promo, wasn't it?
Absolute Ricky Starks declaring himself for the Owen Cup tournament, which is fine, but Ricky Starks saying Ricky Starks things. He needs something more than just saying what he always says. But great. I'm glad Ricky Starks was on the show. Again, I'm glad he was on the show. That's fine. And then we got a Jeff Jarrett video package.
Yes, with a concession stand battle, concession stand whatever fight or something.
Concession stand brawl. Look, I want him and Mark Briscoe at some point to just hurl popcorn at each other. I feel like I want there to be some of the brawling, but I also want there to be a couple of spots where it's like, this is just really stupid. What are you doing? He's like, I'm throwing my Diet Coke at you. Ugh.
Exactly, like this ice out of the ice machine, just
He's like,
throw
that'll
ice.
teach you. That'll
Yeah,
teach you.
right. But yeah, that'll be a good match. I think that's going to take place this Wednesday on Dynamite. So that was just like again, there was some crossover there, so that's good. That's what we want to see. It's talking about it, not what's going to happen on Collision, but also what's on Dynamite. So that's good. I need more Jeff Jarrett in my life. I honestly always liked him as a wrestler.
Okay.
He always was pretty much a heel. I don't think I remember him being a baby face. I'm sure he was at some point throughout his career. But
I think he's a heel in his own house at this point.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And honestly, I didn't know what to expect with Karen Jarrett. I didn't know anything really much about her. So when she showed up, I didn't really know who even she was.
Buddy, I'll see if I can find some links for you. Look, the way I sent you the promo with the Hurricane and the Rock.
Yes.
Look, at TNA, there was a whole thing. She was married to Kurt Angle.
In real life, she was married to Kurt Angle, right?
Yeah, she was Karen Angle,
Okay.
yeah. But then, like, they got divorced, but they played out this whole thing on TV where they also got divorced. But then she ended up with Jarrett, and then Kurt Angle and Jeff Jarrett had a feud, and part of the feud was, I stole your wife, and it was like this whole like thing. But Karen Angle was an older version of like Stephanie McMahon being an authority figure and being a pain in the ass for like entire group of people in TNA.
Okay.
For like the better part of a decade. She was actually really good at it. Like she did it for quite a while. She was never in wrestling as far as I'm aware, but she took to it. So they kind of just extended. The problem is, and this is an AEW problem, nobody knows that. Carlos knows that.
Right.
People watched at the time. I didn't even watch TNA that closely, but I knew that angle, and I knew how much mileage they got out of. They got a lot of mileage out of that angle.
Yeah. Well, I knew that there was something going on because, Max Caster made a couple references in his raps about Karen Jarrett and Kurt Angle or something, and I was like, hold on, wait, what? Because they were feuding. And so I do just the surface stuff, right? Mm. But like we've talked about, since she's been on there, I've enjoyed what she's done. Like she plays like that kind of character that's kind of just, like kind of like a Jeff Jarrett character, just like, just very think you're better than everybody else, and just kind of just think, you're just gonna go in there and just like slap people around and just, just kind of just put your foot down like you're like this top gun against everybody else. So I dug it. I dig it. I enjoyed it. I did not enjoy that match, really, to be honest. That was not something that I could do. I could do without that forever seeing that again. Mm-hmm. But I did enjoy Karen Jarrett stuff. So yeah, I mean, it was what it was. But yes. So that promo was done. So that'll be a fun one, I'm sure, to watch, because anything with Mark Briscoe and Jeff Jarrett is going to be golden. I'm assuming. So.
Yep. So then another thing that AEW sometimes does that I'm not a big fan of is that they'll double and triple up on stuff. So I just said one promo, I just said two promos, and then Tony Schiavone's in the ring to interview The Acclaimed. I'm like, no, like break it up, put something in the middle, in the middle. You don't need to do two promos and then another promo where we gotta have it in the ring, and we just watched some pre-tape, and now we need another promo in the ring. And here's the thing, I like The Acclaimed. I actually don't care what they say in promos most of the time.
Right.
I actually really don't care either. But I'm okay with it because I'm glad that he comes up with stuff and freestyles. But when they're doing it into a match, like I want him to make fun of the person that they're about to have a match with. That makes sense to me. But for interviewing, I'm like, From what I understand, the upshot of this is that they're going to try again for the trios. So the House of Black should destroy them again, which would be funny.
Which I hope they do, because I do not want to see the House of Black lose those titles for quite a while.
Yeah. As long as that's where we're going with it, I'm good. So that was the promo that led us into the main event. CM Punk and FTR taking on Bullet Club Gold and ROH World Television Champion, former King of Television, now Crown Prince of Television, Samoa Joe.
The Crown Prince.
You only get Crown Prince if you don't have both belts.
Right. Well, I will tell you. I'm sure you and I assume that you and I probably will feel relatively the same about this match. I thought it was great. I thought it was fun. I thought what needed to happen happened on the end there. I thought everybody had their spots. Everybody had their moments of shine. Mm-hmm. I think everybody got to do like some, wrestling. There was a lot of just, ground and pound wrestling. There wasn't a whole lot of hijinks or like high flying stuff. It was just kind of just old school wrestling, which I like. I will tell you, everybody wants to see the CM Punk Samoa Joe like singles match. which I do as well. I think that's something that I want to see eventually happen. Whenever that's tomorrow or that's 6 months from now, I want to see that. But I will tell you, at least from my perspective, when I was watching it from my house, Samoa Joe was laying in those chops on CM Punk so hard. I felt like I was feeling like I was getting hit by him. I mean, there was that one time in the corner where he just hit him like I think 3 times, just like straight in the chest. And I was like, oh my gosh, like he's really laying it in on Punk. And then fast forward like a minute later, like CM Punk has Joe in the middle of the ring. And he tries to do the chops, and he just brushes it off, and the chop was like nothing. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, oh my gosh, like I'm sure this was all planned out. I'm sure they want to see that. I know they're friends outside of AEW and all that, but that was a very pretty impressive visual of seeing CM Punk just getting annihilated in that corner for like a good 20 seconds with chops. So. What about you? What were some of your takeaways?
No, I think the match got done what it wanted to do. Like I said, book into the show. CM Punk started the show with the promo, ended the show with the match. He was in the match as much as he needed to be. FTR carried the load for that team, which is what they should. Right now, he's out of practice. He's rusty.
Sure.
It doesn't matter what he was doing. It's and he was fine for when he was in the ring. He's in shape, so that part I think is okay. And then Joe is good at doing. Joe is kind of funny for me because. At this stage in the game, and this is what's funny, is that a lot of people want that match that you're talking about, but I'm like, it's like, you guys know it was 19 years ago when they did that, right? They made reference to it. It's like, it's 2004. It was 19 years ago.
Wow.
So it's like, it was before both guys were in WWE. So you got to remember, it goes back a ways. So CM Punk is not quite the same dude that he was back then. It is a little bit, you can do it if you want, but they're not the same dudes. Like we showed earlier tonight, this is not my favorite cards, but so I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, I'm gonna give me one. We'll do the solo layout there. Okay.
So that's a printing plate right there.
Yeah, that's a good image.
Yeah, but I got 3 of those printing plates of CM Punk. It's like I was waiting for him to come back, and I was like, oh please. It's like tune eBay listing near you. It's like y'all can have it. I got 3 of them. So I picked them up pretty cheap. So we'll see. I don't know if anything will come of it, but look, I'll take the money if someone wants to offer. I'm just saying.
Sure, I bet you will. This is the time to do it, probably.
That's what I mean. Like I was hoping. I was like crossing my fingers. Like come on. But basically, when the collision started, I was like, please don't fuck it up. Please just don't fuck it up. Just don't do something stupid. Like at the end of the day, I didn't pay a lot for them. But could you look? Do me a solid, Punk. Just don't fuck this up. That's all I'm asking you. That's all I'm asking from you.
At least until these sales are final. Don't do it.
After the sales are final, we're done. I don't know. Jump off a building, light yourself on fire. Do whatever you want after that. I don't care. It makes no difference to me. Just chill out for just long enough. That's all you need to do for me.
Yeah, just hold the reins a bit. Just pull back. Don't go full out of control. Like set the world on fire kind of thing. We need you to hold it tight for just a few more weeks.
Yeah, but so I love watching the way Samoa Joe does this stuff because he is such a big dude, relatively speaking, compared to a lot of the guys. Like, it makes total sense that when CM Punk gives him a chop, he barely reacts to it. It's like, well, he's like 3 feet wide. He's like 2.5 feet thick. Like, he's like a wall. You're just hitting him. It's like, I was like, dude, I outweigh you by like 100 pounds. It's like, so when you chop me, it's not going to be it. When I chop you, your head's about to come off.
Right.
So I was like, this makes sense. You're right.
Yeah, that's true. And now that you said that, it's like, I don't know if it's ever happened before. Maybe it has on WWE, but I feel like I need it now more than ever. Samoa Joe versus Miro. That will be a match I would love to see.
I'm trying to remember.
I don't want to know. I don't. Neither one of them should lose. So I don't know how you would do that, but
I think you'd have to do it in almost like a battle royal scenario where they're like beating on each other, and then everybody else has to like attack them in order to try to get
right. That's true. I feel like I need that because he's the only other like big, thick, not giant, but like nice, decent sized guy that would be a good toe to toe guy to go with. Because we already seen the Wardlow one with him, so that's been done. So we don't need to go back and revisit that necessarily. But we need another guy they can like kind of feed off each other. So yeah, but. Anyway, so just again, kind of closing out, I agree with you. I thought everything that needed to be done. I agreed that it was good. I was surprised there was not an angle at the end. I felt like there should have been something maybe to kind of hook you for next week. They didn't do that, which is fine. It's okay.
Mhm.
I don't need that every single time, but I was kind of surprised considering to bring back the eyes to the product next week, right? You would think they'd do something, which didn't happen. So we will see if just the show itself on its own was enough to move it forward to get the same people and maybe others to show up for it next Saturday.
Jason, episode 2 of Collision is going to be in Canada in front of dozens and dozens. And I already told you how like the tickets are selling for the hotcakes. The hotcakes. They're crazy. It's going to be amazing.
Everybody's going to be drinking Tim Hortons, and it's going to be great.
It was such a terrible idea to book it after you had booked Forbidden Door and then stick it the night before. I'm sitting there like, what is wrong with you?
Right.
If you had just announced Collision well in advance, here's the thing. I guarantee you, if you had announced Collision well in advance, at the same time that you're selling the Forbidden Door tickets and come up with some kind of a deal, you probably would have sold those tickets.
Right.
It's just waiting until the last possible minute and then making it the same price, and you don't even know what card you're getting. You don't even know what Collision is.
Right.
So it's like you've offered us nothing, and then you expect us to pay $100, $200 a ticket? Are you crazy?
Yeah. That's more money in Canada, right? That's even more. So, but it'll be interesting. I'm definitely interested to see what the crowd looks like. I know you already.
I might have to let you know when I book my entire row.
Yeah, you might take you can take a couple pictures and be like, "Here's what it looks like." Don't let the lights in the house fool you, or the camera angles. There's a few dozen Canadians in here. That's it. So,
I think they'll get. I think now that we'll see. Like I said, through week 1, because the first show I think was good. I think that's going to help a little bit of walk. And the fact that tickets are cheap, like the fact that tickets are cheap is like, so if you can wrangle a couple of buddies, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Like at that point, like it's such a good deal, relatively speaking. I'm like, wait, all right, you can make like a wrestling weekend out of it if you want. Now, at that price point, with the price point they're offering now, I'm like, all right, yeah, okay, fine, buy the 4 tickets and then but so you can paper the house with that and fill it up a little bit.
Yeah, you hope so. Yeah. You definitely don't want to do the everybody. They talk people into it with the deal of buying 4 tickets, and then they don't have 4 people show up. Just one guy buys the 4 tickets, and then you have still a whole lot of empty spots. So
don't ruin my plan, Jason. It's a great plan.
Exactly.
Even if I have friends who want to come, I'll tell them to buy their own 4 tickets. I want my spot.
Like you said, you're just gonna pop up and throw something at John Moxley because you're gonna be right there. You're like, just throw a bottle at him when he walks by,
and then look around and pretend it's the guy in the 4th row.
Right. You're like, is that guy?
It's like, you asshole! I can't believe you did that. That's terrible.
You're like, Joe, what the hell, man?
That worthless Joe, just because he was angry from last week. Why is Joe picking a fight with everyone?
That is not very Canadian, Joe. You're totally being disrespectful. But yeah, so I'm interested to see what it looks like. Like you said, I had heard not just from you but from others. Ticket sales for a lot of the shows have not been stellar, to say the least. Mm-hmm. Hoping maybe that picks up some steam, because I want to see AEW be successful wherever they go for sure. But I have heard also that even the show they just had in Chicago with Punk and all that, like I think it holds like around 22,000, and they had maybe 10 there. And of course, they did a good job of like darkening everything out.
So
and,
you're talking about the United Center?
Yes.
Yeah, but that was never configured for that. For what they actually configured it for, it was actually decent size crowd.
Okay. Well, I know originally he sold it out, right, back in the day.
Oh, right? yeah, but this was after 7 years away.
Sure.
When you were anticipating, like the problem is, again, sometimes Tony Khan gets into the bad habit of saying, "Okay, I'll sign the person, and then that'll fix everything." And be like, no, you got to promote it correctly in such a way as to give me a reason. Yes, like I assume CM Punk will be at a lot of the early collisions, so there's a good chance that CM Punk will be at the show. Great, fantastic, like wonderful. Okay, but what is he doing?
Right, what is he doing? Yeah. So what is the plan now? What do we have?
I was gonna say, so he's gonna fight me in the row. So we're gonna have that
versus Punk.
Look, I might just have to pick a fight with everybody. That might be the only way to make this happen. It's like, you know what? Long-term storytelling, Tony. I'm just gonna buy these seats so I can just attack everybody. That's what I'm gonna do.
You have like 6 water bottles all like lined up, ready to go.
Yeah, one after another. I'm just gonna fight them all. I'm gonna fight them all, Jason.
Everyone's getting them. Everyone's getting a water bottle to the head. But yeah,
Until Serpentico comes out, in which case it's fist bump.
yeah, exactly.
You're the
Serpentico,
man,
like,
Serpentico. You're the man. You're cool.
You're the man. Exactly.
You're cool, Serpentico. We're good.
Yeah, those other jabronis back there, screw them. But you're cool, man. You're cool.
That's right.
But I agree. I'm hoping for AEW's sake, it's a good turnout. Everybody shows up, and they have quite a few turnout for the show or for the shows. If it doesn't, like you said, hopefully he learns a lesson and does a better job of promoting it, and explaining who's going to be there, what to expect. Not just a random person that may or may not pop in, but they're actually going to be there, and what kind of their role will be when they're there wrestling at said show on Saturday night or whatever the case may be. So I think Forbidden Door, I'm excited because it seems like there is a lot of moving parts that hopefully carries into the shows leading into the next 2 weeks while they're in Canada or whatnot. So
the good news for that one is that one is a sellout. So they're gonna have a good crowd. That was taken care of a while ago. It's the same thing as the kind of the Wembley thing, though. Going back to what it is, you're seeing the difference between promoting in a logical way, giving people enough lead time. Look, Wembley Stadium, we don't know what the card is, and they sold 65,000 tickets. So it is possible if you go to the right market, you allow the audience to build. In this case, they just wanted something. You gave them something, and you gave them to the arena, and they were hyped for that. The hype is there. The hype is not there for some of this other random stuff, like a random show on a Saturday where we don't know what the hell it is. It's hard to get hype for that because it's like, what am I getting hype for? I don't even know yet.
Right. I don't know. Exactly. So we will see. That'll be something that will unfold before our eyes here in the next week or two, see where things go. Before I let you go, because I don't want to take up too much of your time, I don't feel like it has been a big deal like it was last year. Oh, by the way, Scott said he did not think he's ever seen a Joe versus Miro match anywhere, which I was kind of thinking the same thing.
Probably.
So that might be something worth looking into in the future, Tony, wink, wink. But what is your thoughts, being a Canadian, about the Owen Hart Cup tournament? I felt like last year was a much bigger deal. I felt like they really, propped it up, kind of made a big deal. This year, I feel like it's just kind of just like, meh, here it is. I don't really feel like there's been like a lot of focus on that, and maybe we haven't got there, so they're still just kind of like, just soft pedaling it a bit. But do you have any thoughts or insights about that, or is it kind of like a wait and see for you?
So as a good Canadian, hold on.
There you go. Hold on. Yeah. Is that the Quebec flag, right?
No, that's Panama.
Oh, Panama. Whoops.
I was gonna say.
I know that's not the Canadian flag, so I was like,
"Parlez-vous français?" No. It's like Espanol. Si.
There you go.
So no, I was gonna say that. You're right. It hasn't been promoted as much. I think that comes down more though that it's kind of similar to what we talked about before. Tony Khan is trying to do 57,000 things simultaneously. They have hired more people, which is good. The question is, are you going to let those people do the work?
Right, because you hired them for.
Because the problem is, and maybe I'll touch briefly on the cards here since we talked about it before.
Sure.
Right now, AEW, in everything they do, has a certain built-in core fan base. They can do no wrong to that fan base. It is what it is. The problem is it's not as big an audience. It's what I criticize WWE for. They have a built-in core fan base that they can produce garbage television, which they did for about 15 years, and they'll just tune in anyway. It doesn't matter. Like it's not. And so even at that point, all they have to do then is be adequate, and all of a sudden, oh my God, it's fantastic. That's why I say we talk about the Bloodline storyline, and I said Bloodline storyline is really good, but it's not perfect. There's a lot of really stupid shit in it. Where I'm sitting there like, how low is the bar that it's fine. It's fine. But there's still a lot of stuff where I'm just shaking my head. I go, this is stupid. You're dragging it out. You're making it more melodramatic. I was like, if you were doing this, like, Roman Reigns would have had these idiots killed. Like, at this point, just have them killed. It's easier. Just do, like, when Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, how about instead of letting them have the match, how about you just off them? Throw them into a river with cement boots. Like, just take care of them. What kind of a fake mob boss are you? What kind of tribal chief are you? Useless. But the thing is that right now, because they tried to do so much stuff at the same time, Tony's really enthusiastic about everything, but the problem is he's enthusiastic about everything. Right. So nothing is particular. But I'm sitting there like, the problem is you went to Canada and you sold out Forbidden Door very quickly. Yes, that is true. And then you said, all right, we're going to do Collision. Here's a bunch of Canadian dates after Forbidden Door and all that had already been done. Everybody's sitting there like, look, we're not made of money. We're not just going to randomly throw money at you. Tell us why. Why are we going to then spend money again when that date wasn't there? There was no Saturday show before. Now you put one in the same venue that you're going to have. The reason why they're struggling to paper it is that they're putting it in Scotiabank. Scotiabank's a hockey arena. It's the bigger arena. Before they did it in what used to be called Rico. It's Coca-Cola Coliseum or whatever. It's a smaller venue. If you had put Collision in the smaller venue, I think you'd have had an easier time selling some of these tickets because you could have dropped the price accordingly. But you put it in literally the same arena you're about to do Forbidden Door and get 14,000 in. That doesn't make any sense. And it's a show that has no backing, that has no history. You just did it. Right now, AEW is doing certain things well enough. They've got a base audience, but they're not hot. They got the video game that took a while. I think it's supposed to come out this month. When it comes out, I think it'll do well. But the problem is, it was delayed a bunch of times. Upper Deck is the owner of the license for AEW trading cards. Guess what? Do you know when the last product that actually came out is?
Like a year ago?
It's close. It was at the end of last year, and it was the flagship product. There's supposed to be AEW Metal. Metal is supposed to be, and Allure. And both those products are decent. I know them from the hockey side of things, and they would do okay. 6 months ago when they were supposed to come out, the problem is every month and every day that goes by. Now, if they came out, it would be lukewarm. And it'd be like, oh, nobody likes the product. No, 6 months ago, people were hyped for that product, but they've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And the problem is the hype doesn't last forever.
Right.
At a certain point, people start going like, but you're not giving me what I've waited so long. Like, I'm tired, man. I'm going to go do something else.
Right. Exactly.
And that's the show. And that's the issue in a nutshell. It's not that nobody wants to go to these shows. It's that, dude, I don't even know what I'm going to get from show to show.
Right.
The consistency isn't there. I'm like, so is Miro going to be here? No. For like the last year. It's like, so where's Miro? Where's this guy? Where's this guy? Where's this person? Where's this person? And now they're suddenly back. Hey, that's good. But will you be there next week? People don't trust. The trust is, let's put it this way, the trust is gone.
Right.
So if you can show me over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months and do a Collision show that's 65, 70% of what you got here consistently, the people will tune in and stick around for you.
That's true.
But you have to rebuild the trust. Right now, we do not trust you.
Right. And that goes back to what Scott was just saying. Tony needs a promotional team as he's not cutting it by himself, which I agree.
Yeah.
He just does too much stuff. He's such a control freak, as you can obviously tell, that he doesn't trust people to do the job that he thinks he can do better. And no, like you said earlier, like he's starting to put the right people in places. He's starting to hire more people. He's starting to like what is it, like
delegate.
Delegate, that's the word I was looking for. Delegate the work to different people doing different things, which is great. But it goes back to a little bit of what you were saying, is that we need consistency. And even though you might be delegating it out now, we need to see over the next weeks and months how this product's going to look like. Are you going to kind of stay out of it, let the people do their thing? And then can we trust that this product's going to be as good as we believe it to be, or it can be? Or is it going to be, again, stilted and false starts and stops, and we can't build the traction that was kind of going there for the first couple of years. So yeah, I agree. I'm hoping, I'm hoping for good things, but there's a part of me who, for all the good things Tony Khan has done, I feel like he's his own worst enemy. He won't get out of his own way to let other people give him a shot and see what they can do.
Yeah. I think he fell in love. Like if he had started the delegating thing a year ago, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yes.
Because he'd be a year further along. It would be more, there'd be more structure. All you have to do is look back. Rampage, when they did the first episode of Rampage was CM Punk debuting, and it did a number. And then people are like, all right, cool, you got a second show. Awesome. And then as weeks went by and Rampage just became a show, we've literally seen you debut a show, come out hot, and then what happened? So you've shown us already that your track record is consistency is a problem. Consistency is an issue. You could have done a lot of what you're doing with Collision on Rampage. You had an opportunity and you already fumbled it once. So that's the first thing. And like I said, I think he got very excited by the fact that they quote unquote beat NXT, which they did. And WWE did try. They threw some main roster guys on there, and they did try a little. They're trying not to try too hard because they don't want to lose, and then people
Look
realize
bad
that they
doing
tried.
it.
So they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, we weren't trying as hard as we could." Yeah, but you wouldn't have put any main roster guys on there if you didn't give a shit. The problem is
Right.
you were sort of trying, but you wanted to give yourself an out. And here's the
Yes.
thing: NXT sucks. So Tony Khan shouldn't take too much credit because he beat a product that kind of sucks. It's terrible. It's atrocious.
Right.
And Raw most weeks sucks. And right now it draws a good rating because right now a lot of people are trying to give WWE an opportunity, but it's like, all right, outside of the Bloodline storyline, what else they got going on?
Right. Which
Oh,
I
wait.
honestly, nothing. Oh, wait, exactly. And I honestly, I think I mentioned this before to you, both on and offline, is that, I'll watch a handful of their highlights. I watch a couple of people talking about the show just to kind of get like an insight on it. But you could ask me who did so and so do last week, or what did so and so do last week? What match do they have? What promos were cut? I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't watch the product at all, and I have no interest in watching the product unless something dramatically changes with it. I mean, I can watch it right now, this very moment. Raw is going on, and I have no interest in going to check it. I can hang up this phone right now, run into my bed, my living room, and start watching it, and I would just kind of have it on the background and be like, okay, whatever. So yeah, we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, man, I won't take up too much more of your time. I greatly appreciate we did an hour and a half. That was pretty impressive. We'll have to do this again. Maybe we'll kind of expand it a bit. Maybe talk a little bit more about the product in general, maybe both sides, or AEW, kind of all the different programs or whatnot. But I greatly appreciate your time, Carlos, and your insights, because you're one of the few people who do not care how it comes across. You just speak the truth and you just tell them how you feel, which I appreciate, because so many people sometimes want to just try to spin everything so positive, and sometimes you just got to be honest and keep it real. So I appreciate that. So.
No worries. And justice for LA Knight, for the love of all that is holy, he better win the Money in the Bank, I swear. Well, I watched the shows, but I'll fast forward through most of that shit because it's trash. But I literally watched it and I'm like, I think LA Knight's going to win the Money in the Bank, but he still loses a lot.
Yes.
And I'm like, you guys know that momentum's a thing. He could win matches leading into the Money in the Bank. That'd be fine. Like, there's, find him a jobber to beat up on, and then let him make fun of him on the microphone while he's beating him up. That'd be funny.
Yes.
Let him do it.
I need Eli Drake, aka LA Knight, in more in my life. I really do enjoy his stuff. It's funny because he was the one guy that I was drawn to the most out of all of the wrestlers that WWE has. And then you started talking about him, and I'm like, see, another great minds think alike. Like they have a huge roster of folks, and I really don't get excited about anybody. But Eli Drake, aka LA Knight, I really liked. I liked him back when he was in NWA. I really like his promos. I like his wrestling. He looks great. So yes, I hope he has a strong run with WWE, and they actually do some stuff with him. So we shall see. But with that being said, I will let you go, and I'll let everybody go. Thank you all for watching, and we will do this again here, hopefully in the next maybe couple weeks to a month, maybe after Forbidden Door.
I might have to do my legal representation. Might have to be after I fight a couple of guys on Collision. It might be an issue.
There you go.
I'm worried. I might have to do what I have to do. But look, I might be calling you. I might be using my one phone call just to talk to you a little bit, because it's like he deserved it.
That's awesome.
And it was Joe. I was framed.
Exactly. Well, I will be your guy to talk to. We'll figure it out. We'll talk you off the ledge. Make sure it happens. It'll be good times. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Even if you don't come onto my channel, you just do it from your own channel. I definitely look forward to hearing what you have to say about it, because I am sure you will have something to say. So I will look forward to it. All right, man. Well, I'll let you get back to your evening. Thank you again. We will do it again. Take care.
All right. Thank you, buddy.
All right. Bye, guys. See ya.